Well, it says we're live. Folks, if you can see me, sorry for the delay. This internet connection is acting up. Okay, looks like we're live. Good. Okay, yes, we're live. If you can see me, I got to bring back up Dr. Okay, here he is. Bringing him up on stage. Hotep Peace, Black Power family. Dashan Farad here. Welcome to the first episode of GoPro Tonight with Dashan Farad. We are live. I'm here in New York City. This is a call-in show. We're going to be taking calls in a little while. Please pardon the delay. We had actually, it was a StreamYard and an internet problem. I don't know what was going on. The internet was freezing, but the way I set up the StreamYard notification, it wasn't allowing me to go through YouTube, even though it said that I could go through YouTube and only have me going through StreamYard. So of myself, it was no fault of myself. It was no fault of my guests who I'm going to be speaking with. Unfortunately, it was a fault of StreamYard, which we're using. Family, tonight we're going to be speaking with behavior expert and social commentator, behavior health expert and commentator, Dr. Cleo Manago, who specializes in Black mental health. His focus, among many things regarding Black people, is the health of Black men. We're asking the question tonight: do Black men hate Vice President Kamala Harris? As we have seen in the past 2 weeks or the past week and a half, Vice has launched an aggressive campaign, a political PAC, put together has actually raised $4 million in an effort to get Black men to vote for Vice President Harris. And recently, in the past several days, Vice President Harris herself has announced that she has started an agenda or created an agenda, rather, that addresses the needs of Black men. She's appeared on Roland Martin, she's appeared on the Breakfast Club, discussing this Black agenda. And you have a lot of people that are not buying it. And I'm here tonight to speak with Dr. Manago, asking him the question, uh, Dr. Manago, what is the obsession with Black men? Why is it that Indian men are not being pressured into supporting the vice president? And I want to ask you the question. We keep hearing the usual memes. Black men are misogynistic. Black men hate Black women. Black men want to uphold white male patriarchy. Are Black men really that bad? What's going on?
Well, I'm sorry for laughing. I laughed when you said they're not asking Indian men. um, well, thank you for inviting me on your flagship premiere show. I appreciate it. I've gotten a lot of invitations to talk about this, and I've avoided all of them because the fervor around this election has risen to the level, or maybe even lower, depending on who you're listening to religion. Sometimes when you discuss religion, there's not a lot of reason. It's a lot of emotionality, faith without works, religiosity, if you will. And people are more reactionary to defend themselves instead of having a conversation about why they feel the way they feel and, raising consciousness. But before I directly answer your question, I have to contextualize or underscore the fact that this has never happened before in my life. I don't remember Black men being corralled in particular uh, to hear what we have to say, which is still not happening, by the way, or to be significant to an election. Um, do Black men hate Kamala was your question. And no, I don't. Kamala, let me get that right for somebody to get mad at me. I don't think Black men hate Kamala. I think the question probably should be, do people hate Black people? Or do people hate Black men? Because I've seen endless examples of a Black man saying, I'm not sure about Kamala, or I don't support Kamala. And everybody goes off and attacks calls them names, calls them sexist, calls them misogynists, but nobody says, well, why do you feel that way? What's going on? What is your perspective? So that's why I think the question, another subtitle could be, are black men hated? Because clearly nobody wants to hear from us, but they want our vote. But I think the reason why there's been a relatively big deal made, and I mean real relative, $4 million ain't that much money, but a relatively big deal being made out of black people is because it's gotten out there as part of the political landscape that unprecedentedly black men are supporting Trump. It's also gotten out there that black men are either not sure of Kamala or don't trust her. So Kamala's doing what a politician does and wants those votes. So now she's appealing to black men because she wants all the votes that she can get because she wants to be president. So it's political. It's an 11th hour initiative because if she cared about black men as a part of her norm, this would have been happening as a part of her platform. But it's happening now because it's close to November. And I also just want to say that I think there's so much reaction to any kind of lack of support for Kamala is because of misandry, or the hatred of men or distrust of men, in disinterest in black male voices. But the other thing that's kind of masking things is people really are afraid of Trump, and they want Trump to lose at all cost, and they feel like he's dangerous, etc. And they are not interested in dialogue. Just vote for Trump, and that's really a dysfunctional, sad, and impotent approach because people need to hear from people. And I'll close this particular rant by saying that the president is a significant position in this country, but it's a temporary position. And along with, though they can appoint judges and do some things that are permanent or long term, like Trump did during his first
Hold on. I hope
10
we
years.
didn't lose Cleo. Is acting up.
Oh, I'm gone?
Oh, Cleo, I'm sorry, dear brother. StreamYard was acting up. No, we have you back. We have you back.
Oh, okay. What did you lose me? Do you know? Where was I?
Cleo, we got you back, brother.
Okay. Well, I don't know where I was when we lost each other, but the bottom line is that Kamala wants all the votes she can get.
I see you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you said she wants to get all the votes she can get.
Yeah, she wants to get all the votes she can get, and she has some challenges around black men. Unfortunately, nobody's addressing them. They just throwing up these phrases like sexist, and I don't think that's the real issue. I think it's very dismissive and minimizing and misandrous, or misandrinor as it's called, to completely be uninterested in black male perspective and just do these one-line judgments about all these things, particularly given that there's a lot of women who don't support Kamala as well. And there's black women who are unsure about her as well. And I think some of the reasons are parallel, but there's no conversation. So, but again, in case I don't know where my talk earlier was cut off, but the other thing is that people think there's urgency for Trump to lose, and they don't want to hear nothing but vote against Trump. And I think that's a mistake. I think Trump is dangerous. I agree that he's problematic, but I think it's also equally problematic to constantly silence black male voices in this society and not ask black men what they think and go off on black men and abuse black men in response to having a thought that doesn't go along with what black people are supposed to do traditionally, is follow each other into the presidency and never hold them accountable and it's basically a glorified popularity contest. But there are some problems with Trump. So I don't want to deny that. I think there's some problems with
Mhm.
Kamala as well, and I think that are black people should be using this time period to be in dialogue with each other about holding the president accountable and making informed decisions instead of reactionary decisions. But that's a whole nother
So Cleo,
perspective.
Cleo, how do you feel? How do you feel about President Obama last week admonishing black men, saying that brothers? He actually used the term brothers who don't vote for Vice President Harris. They're doing so out of sexism. How do you feel about him waving his finger at?
Um, Obama, well, from what I hear, it's backfiring. It's not. It didn't have the kind of gravity that they expected. But I think Obama's problematic, especially now that he's a private citizen. Because if he really cared about brothers, he's in a position to do a lot for brothers. He has the resources and the gravity to create some initiatives that are supportive of black men and that can help repair some damage that's been done systemically that black men have had to endure. But he's not sincere. He's a politician. And he tried to use which is really sad and offensive, his first black male position to try to corral black men without engaging black men and getting their perspective into supporting the Democratic Party and Kamala. And I think that's very disrespectful and problematic. And I'm not surprised that it backfired. You may remember that he spoke at some HBCUs during his tenure as president, and he did that kind of, you know, finger swinging, chastising even then. And I don't think he likes black men and respects black men.
Oh, you raise a good point. Now, Cleo, something I wanted to mention as well. These articles that are coming out since Vice President Harris received the nomination, these articles keep coming out. Many of them by Democratic-leaning media outlets that say that that certain social media personalities are giving black men misinformation. And one of the problems that I have with that is that it appears that folks seem to think that black men are just dumb, like we don't have the intelligence to discern misinformation. Why do you feel the constant belittling of black men's intelligence, our intellect?
I think it's important to understand, at least from my perspective, that the dividing of black men is a systemic problem that preceded this election. As I said earlier, never before in the history of elections in my life have black men in particular been attended to. So that in itself, that tendency, that history is a sign of a lack of respect for black men. But I don't think it's a lack of intelligence. I think what Kamala is dealing with is the impact of the dehumanization and dismissal of black men, including optically by her. I mean, one of the things that nobody wants to talk about that I think black men are thinking about is her not loving a black man. But I don't want to get too far out before I get back to your question about the do they think black men are dumb? I don't think they think black men are dumb. I think um, there's too much obvious data to the contrary. I think that black men are just marginalized and are to be seen and not heard, and are a nemesis to white supremacist agendas politically, historically, and in every way. And it's just the way it's been. I mean, as you know, black women rock. What's all those lines about black women right now? Black women rock. What is it? I forgot them all. You might know them all. You
Black
know all
girls
those
rock. Black,
black
yeah,
girls.
black girls rock. Yes, sir. Black.
There's about 3 or 4 of those similar lines, and I agree. Black women do rock, but black men matter too,
Yes,
and black men are human beings too, and black men have feelings and experience in the world too, and that gets hidden under this perpetual accusation of patriarchy and misogyny, and that's just not a valid or sensible accusation because there's a you've heard of Tommy Curry, Dr. Tommy Curry, right? Can you hear me?
definitely. Yes, definitely. I've interviewed him before. Yes, he's been on my show before.
Yes, Dr. Tommy Curry, along with just being a brilliant scholar and intellect, has all this data that crystallizes the experience of Black men in this country. And this country was so uninterested in affirming him in his highly profound and valid scholarly work that he had to leave the country to be affirmed and for his work to be affirmed on an academic level. I mention that because what that underscores is the lack of interest in Black male life, Black male respect, Black male experience that this country has on a systemic level. So this is not an issue of not thinking Black men are intelligent. This is the issue of resisting Black male intelligence and marginalizing Black male intelligence and trying to keep Black male intelligence under wrap and coming up with all these excuses to keep on dehumanizing Black men. And even though these reports have come up about Black men's experience in this country, including I'm talking about the negative things, including suicide, et cetera, there's been no call of arms, no call to action, no response. So I'll close this rant by saying it's not an issue of that people not thinking Black men are not intelligent. That's not the issue. It's that they don't want to hear from Black men for real, not unless they are whitewashed,
Mm,
not unless they are Democrats, not unless they are Van Jones, not
mm.
unless they are
So, Cleo,
somebody.
when you say whitewash, mhm. so,
I'm
so
sorry,
Cleo,
finish
when
your
you say
question.
unless black men are whitewashed, what does that mean? Of
Okay.
kind of zero in on.
Well, okay. How many Black male, Black affirming voices have you heard articulate anything reasonably substantive about the importance of Black men on the popular stage? How many times have you heard somebody talk about Black men in an affirming way, in an autonomous and affirming way on the popular stage? How many times have you heard that?
That is an excellent question.
How many times have you heard Van
Cleo, right
Jones?
now, I can't even count 5 times on my hand.
How many times have you heard Van Jones
Please,
or
can you hear me,
I,
Cleo?
I hear you just fine. Yes, there's a delay, but I
Mhm.
do hear you. How many times have you heard Van Jones
Thank you, thank you.
or Don Lemon when he was on all the time, or any of these Black men have had a profile? Do these are all Black men? Do a show or an episode on the affirmation of Black men. How many times have you seen that? I haven't seen it. When you hear
Never.
Van Jones, he's literally crying over somebody white, telling how much he loves them. He's literally carrying a system, Democratic CNN or some white system's
I had to keep from
water.
laughing. Please
Um,
continue.
so so it's again it's whitewash is a Black person who's willing to simply be a mouthpiece for whiteness and white systems and never address issues relevant to Black people in meaningful ways or substantive ways. And typically they don't love Black people in their personal life. All the Black men who've ever had a show on CNN, for example, their own show, was loving somebody not Black in their personal life. That's not a coincidence. As you've heard me say before, there's no such thing as an accidental pattern. If it's a pattern, it's intentional.
Mhm. Okay, so Cleo, here's the thing. Now, oftentimes we hear the thing that sickens me often. We never speak about the amount of we keep speaking about the amount of black men that are leaving the Democratic Party, but discussing is that in 2016, the amount of white women who voted for Trump. Why is that oftentimes neglected or ignored? Why the focus on which is it's amazing because black men in mass in 2016 did support Hillary, and it was a small number that supported Trump. And of course, we don't mention that in 2020, the number of black women that voted for Trump had increased. But why is it that we're ignoring those white women that voted for Trump? 50, what is it, 52%?
Yeah, because I mean, racism is so redundant and old that I'm getting tired of saying the word myself. But that's the answer to your question. Um, at the risk of sounding abstract, there's no such word in the normal English language as black slavery, because the word black and slavery are considered redundant to say together. Just say slavery, it means black. But there is such thing in this country as the word white slavery, and that's considered contraband, horrible, particularly bad. We have to put a stop to that. The reason that's relevant to your question is because what white women do and what white people do that's problematic, or an interesting pattern, including racism or white supremacy mythology, it never makes the press as something to study. Like, for example, when you watch films or documentaries on the impact of racism, they talk about the impact of it on Black people's lives, but they don't talk about the impactor. They don't talk about what's wrong with white people, why they tripping, why they keep attacking Black people, what is wrong with them. You don't hear, even though Mariba Ani did Urugu and wrote a book on why white people do what they do, they don't study themselves and talk
Yeah.
about themselves as an other or something to study. So what white women do and what white men do is not coming under the microscope. It's only what black men do and black women do. And in this instance, black men, because we have to be under the microscope as if something is wrong with us, but there's never going to be an implication that something's wrong with white people. Despite racism, despite the majority of the shootings on these campuses, killing all these kids, these innocent people in public, 99.9% white men, but there's never been a white male inquiry about what's up with this pattern, because that would take white people out of the mythological position of supremacy and superiority. So they're not interested in studying them because they want them to be, they want the implication to be that they're above everybody else and everybody else is below them. So they don't study themselves or crystallize focus on white behavior as a problem.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. You said they don't study themselves.
Right.
Okay, well, Cleo, what I'm going to get ready to do, I'm going to pull up the number. We have quite a few people that I see that I know. Of course, we have Brother Tylon Washington, who is the founder of our network, GoPro Radio Network. We have Brother Cuban Crisis. We have Malcolm Nelson. We have someone up here, 24 Deanna 1 says, hi, Cleo. Uh, we also have Chess Mandingo, who's Brother Ian. Ian, I can't bring you up on this live because right now we're having so many technical problems. I don't want to jinx the broadcast. But, yeah, we got Ian Burrows that tuned in. And, of course, Ian definitely had a lot to say. But what I'm going to do right now, I'm pulling up the number. Family, those of you who are just now tuning in, I'm speaking with Dr. Cleo Manago. We are live. We're asking the question, do black men hate Kamala Harris? We're asking the question, why all the focus on black men who are leaving the Democratic Party, among other things. And of course, for those of you who may not, you may have seen Cleo before. Cleo has appeared on many broadcasts for years. Of course, Roland Martin, Rock Newman Show, Black Talk Radio, BET. Cleo has been around for quite some time. He's founded the Anansi Center in Los Angeles, a Black Men's Exchange, and he's currently. One second, I'm sorry, Cleo. I'm pulling clear. You still over the Pride Center of Maryland?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, sorry if I was outdated. I don't want to say anything wrong, but right now I had to restart the broadcast because it started to freeze on us. Froze on, like, we literally went on air at 9 o'clock as we said we would, but StreamYard was acting up. So I'm pulling up the number that was actually in the original description. So 1 second, we're going to pull up the phone number right now. If you want to call up and speak to, ask a question, speak to Cleo or myself, please don't call up trolling, being ignorant. You will be receiving my best friend tone. 1 second. Okay, so we're going to pull up these numbers right now. Call in number. 1 second. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, see, this is the thing, Cleo. Like I said, when we originally went on air, the description had the call in number. Okay, family, give us a call tonight at 973-327-3422, extension 107. That's 973-327-3422, extension 107. Once again, that's 973-327-3422, extension 107. So, Cleo, when you've spoken with black men in different parts of the country, as you do travel, I've heard you in the past. You wrote an excellent piece the other day discussing why so many black men, which is actually to me an insignificant number, are supporting Trump. And you mentioned that it had nothing to do with love.
No, black men don't love Donald Trump.
If I remember.
As I said in that piece, black men have
Cleo,
been.
can you? Oh, Cleo, some reason you said, oh, wait a minute. Are you muted? Hold on, Cleo.
No, I'm not
Keep
muted.
talking. You sounded muted. Keep talking.
Can you hear me now? Okay. No, black men don't love Trump. There's nothing to
Okay,
love
keep
about.
talking there, brother. Sorry for the delay.
Sure. No, black men don't love Trump. Even the men who are supposedly supporting Trump, it's not out of love. I think before I talk about what's going on there,
Stand
I want to
by.
ask.
Can you hear us? Hold on 1 second, Ian. Go ahead.
I want to put out a
We have
thought
our
for you.
first call.
I want to put out a thought or a question for your audience to consider, which is relevant to this so-called love that black men supposed to have for Trump, which is ridiculous. Is people are complaining about black men leaving the Democratic Party.
Stand by, Ian.
But I haven't heard anybody engage black men and ask them why. Now, on occasion, I've heard black men say, and I agree with them, that the Democratic Party hasn't delivered for them, because it hasn't. I mean, one of the things that I raise, and there's other examples that I could use, but one of the things that I've raised is that the murder of black men by white vigilantes and police, the Democratic Party has not come out as a party, including the Congressional Black Caucus, in a demonstrative way and said no more, and use their political influence to create a counter campaign against the destruction of black men as a clear, defined campaign and movement, if you will. They haven't done it. They haven't done systemic analysis to help change the tide of that. And black men have been left hanging, black people, but black men in particular in this instance have been left hanging for so long that everybody's now becoming a capitalist and want to get paid. Because even rappers and even black men who are not necessarily considered the darlings of the society, some of them seem to be getting paid. So people are saying, I'm going to get paid. And I wanted my life to be more profitable if I can't get any justice. And Donald Trump is the poster child for getting paid. Because things that are called black are not helping black men.
Okay, I hope 1 second. Cleo, we're going to get to this call right now. 1 second. 1 second. We're going to get on this call real quick. Oh, 1 second. How do we? Oh, resume. Yes, Ian, you're still there.
Yes, I am. Are my two favorite brothers in the whole world. I love you both. I miss you both. Cleo, I got your message the other day. I just want to, I had to call in. It almost seems like yesteryear. You know when like the three of us was in a cutoff. So I'm sorry if I didn't get the full gist of everything. But it's an interesting question. Do black men hate Kamala Harris? I'd like to be in primarily with, and recently she came up with this uh, plan, as she asserted, policies for black men, saying there's a lot of what she's proposing needs to be approved by the legislative branch. But um, I, I'm not sure if what she's proposing specifically for black men is really that way. Similarly to how she kind of all lives matter, the if that she's come up with, you, you know, somebody used an analogy. It's almost like the neglectful girlfriend. Democratic Party, Kamala Harris, and everybody else, they've been disrespecting black men for a long time, and it's pretty much standard. And it's almost like when it happens, people shrug their shoulders as if the norm, whether it's Obama saying what he said, or whether if Sunny Houston on The View says what she said. It's almost acceptable to berate black men who don't fall in line with the Democrats. I've posed this question several times. I said, what other men in any ethnic group are required to, one, give their vote specifically to one particular party, two, have to follow somebody's lead as opposed to not being the leaders themselves? I don't know any other male group in any ethnic population that has to follow somebody else's lead in their community. They are typically seen as and respected as the leaders. It's not only do the white liberals as well as the conservative, but we're talking about the Democrats right now. Not only do the white liberals not respect us, but sadly, a lot of our black women who have drank, who have drunk from that Democratic Kool-Aid, they've just kind of respect black man campaign. And thankfully, a few people such as Nina Turner spoke out about this, and others saying, hey, I'm not down with no party that's out here disrespecting our men because I love black men. And I applaud that. And we need more of that. But I don't know if our women see the disrespect that we get. They get embraced. And I think, and Dr. Manago can definitely break down on the systemic aspects of it, and it can, and I'm sure he can make the connection to, all the government's plan to include welfare, et cetera, so on. to removing a man and making him less important. Whereas even in this party, we're the least important member in any aspect of politics outside of Obama himself. But we see how they are using him as a tool for their agenda, furthering their agenda. So I don't want to hog the telephone, but I definitely miss you two brothers. I am so happy to see that you're doing this. I've been itching to get back on the air, and you put the battery in my back to kind of do this again, because I miss types of dialogue, especially with you two good brothers.
Oh, thank you very much, Brother Ian. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Wow, Cleo, it appears that Ian was actually saying what you were saying. In terms of the praising of Black women, and there's nothing wrong with that, but this dismissive attitude towards Black men.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with
that we
praising
appear
Black
to happen. It definitely bothers me. And of course, I'm a journalist and as a commentator now, so I can be opinionated. Whenever I hear people say that Black men are protected in America, that kind of irks me, because I've asked the question, how? When I hear people say that Black men are being coddled and being babied, I don't see that. Maybe I'm just imagining things, but Ian kind of touched on that. Family, those of you, please call back. The number is 973-327-3422, extension 107. I put it in the chat. But 973-327-3422, extension 107. To that person that called while Brother Ian was on, please call back. It was from a Baltimore number. I think it was Cleo, was 443 also Baltimore?
I believe so.
No, that's not Baltimore. I keep thinking of 44. It is Baltimore. Okay. So anyway, like I said, we're speaking with Dr. Cleo Manago tonight. Thank you very much for those of you who are tuned in. Chris Jackson, thank you very much. Malcolm Nelson, those of you who are tuned in, would anyone like to call in to add to this very important dialogue? The question for our guest, myself, but definitely for our guest, he's the expert tonight, or comments regarding this issue. So Cleo, this is what I want to know from you. Okay, as I said earlier, the number of Black men that have abandoned the Democratic Party, despite that, Black people collectively, which includes Black women and Black men, are a part of that base. Black women vote for Democrats the most. After them are Black men. What I'm trying to figure out is, should they be panicking? Should the Democratic Party be panicking over this rather small amount of brothers that are not supporting them?
Panicking. I'm sorry. I hope I don't sound tangential when I say that Black people in general should be panicking. We're in trouble. And there's a lot of health and human service related challenges that we have, and economic challenges that we have. And they're not going to be resolved by Kamala or Donald Trump. They're going to be resolved, if indeed they are resolved, by us coming together and also understanding that we're better together than we are apart. One of the problems with one of the negative parts of all this praise of Black women is that there's not enough Black women praising Black men simultaneously. I think that Black women should shine. I think they should be in leadership. I think that their voice matters, but we need each other. And we already have a larger society that is dismissive of us. Like I said before, Black women rock, Black girls rock, Black girl power, things I completely agree with and have supported. But Black men are human beings too. And Black boys are human beings too. And Black men and Black boys are feeling excluded, feeling unseen. They're already living in the wake of seeing themselves be murdered unarmed in mass on popular television. And in most cases, the murders get get found not guilty. I'm telling you from personal experience and research that impacts Black boys and Black men. So for Black boys and Black men to live under this cover of dismissiveness and the questionable value of their lives, and only hear about Black women doing this and Black women doing that, which is important to talk about and to crystallize, and the perpetual involvement in the systemic marginalization of Black men, that's problematic. And part of why Kamala is having some problems is because she hasn't demonstratively shown yet any articulation of Black men, what Black men are dealing with, being important to her. And her life and how she comes off optically creates the perspective that maybe Black people, particularly Black men, are not valuable to her. So some of this quote unquote running to Trump is a response to that. I'm gonna give you a short story that I hope comes through on this system to make my point. People can think I'm crazy, but I'd be willing to have a real dialogue to break this down to more brass tacks if we don't have the time. Remember Kanye West? Remember him? I know you do. Well, Kanye West, particularly before his mother died,
Yes,
tried to be.
definitely. Our brother.
He tried
Of
to do
course.
the best he could.
Yes, sir. You better believe hip hop head.
He, he tried to do the best he could to resist racism and affirm Black people. Like when he said that George Bush didn't care about Black folks during the turmoil in New Orleans. When he snatched a microphone from the people that are getting ready to give Taylor Swift a microphone that's better than Beyonce, and he resisted both of those things. And he got crickets from his peers who were worried about what white folks were thinking, as far as I'm concerned, and didn't want to come off too close to him because they needed white approval. Then the Black president of the United States called him a jackass publicly. Nobody on a public level checked in with Kanye. There was no compassion shown for him, only ridicule. I believe he snapped. He does have an ego, and I think he's a person that's challenged. The white racist president, who of course is not called that, he's just called the president, Donald Trump, embraced him. So he had a president that did not call him a jackass, that did not dismiss him, but that gave the impression of embracing him and taking him seriously. Now, I'm not talking about whether we should take Kanye West seriously or not, or whether he's valuable or not. That's not the question. I'm talking about what occurred on the popular level that everybody saw, that I think led to the behavior that Kanye exhibits. I think there's a relationship between that impulse that Kanye had in terms of leaving Black people and going somewhere where he has some value, even if it's just because he's rich. And there's some Black men who want some value too. And it's not that they're going to see, it's not that they're going to feel valued by Trump, but they don't feel valued by Kamala. And they want to go someplace where they can learn how to make money and have wealth, because that's what you default to in a capitalist country when you're not valued as a human being. Now, I don't believe that Black men are sitting down conscientiously doing a lot of this. I don't believe that Kanye sat down and conscientiously have the analysis that I have. He's behaviorizing it. And what we tend to do a lot is behaviorize things, not analyze things. For example, we're behaviorizing and reacting to Black men who say they don't support Kamala and going off on them instead of being analytical and going, "What's up, brother? You know what's going on? Why do you think that way?" It's like he's stupid. There's been a couple of talk shows where these people, men and women, have eviscerated Black men. There's been talk shows where Black men didn't even say they like Trump.
Yes.
All they said was, "I have issues with Kamala," and the assumption was they loved Trump, and they went off. These people went off on them and started talking about Trump. When the caller or the other Black male didn't even mention Trump. So we're doing a lot of behaviorizing in this society instead of analyzing and making informed decisions based on engaging each other as human beings. And one of the side effects of that is reactionary behavior. And these black men who do support Trump are being reactionary. They don't love Trump, but they don't love the lack of love from the Democratic Party and from Kamala, who's married to a white man. Now, some people might think, oh, that's irrelevant. I'm not talking about how I feel. I'm talking about the optics. And I don't believe that she,
Okay, 1 second.
sure.
Oh no, you okay? No, I'm sorry, Cleo. Due to this delayed response, I'm very sorry. Like I said, family, those of you who are tuning in, we're speaking with Dr. Cleo Manago on this very important subject. This is our first episode, GoPro Tonight with Dashawn Farad. I'm Dashawn Farad. You can find us at GoProRadio.com, and our founder is on tonight. Taiwan investing in our own. Then you got someone up here named Shady Shade. They sure should hate her. And someone named Tim H. Hello, Tim Hogan here. That's his name. And then, of course, Cartez Ransom. He's up here. He's saying, hey, my brothers. But anyway, family, we're expecting more phone calls tonight. Give us a call. In case you may not see it in the queue, you can reach us tonight at 973-327-3422, extension 107. That is 973-327-3422, extension 107. If you have any questions,
I don't think black men
Kamala
hate
Harris,
you.
as has been going around for the past several weeks now since she accepted the nomination. Right, not you, Cleo. We're not asking you that. I'm letting our guests know what we were discussing, but we're focusing. For those of you who may not know, Dr. Manago, uh, he focuses on Black mental health, but specifically as it pertains to Black men. And of course, Dr. Manago has lectured for years on the plight of Black men, how Black men are seen in the society. So we're all, of course, as you can see, we branched off into other topics, but related topics. So, family, once again, I'm Dashawn Farad. Give us a call tonight at 973-327-3422, extension 107. That's 973-327-3422, extension 107. This is GoPro Tonight, the GoPro Radio Network. This episode is going to be broadcast on the GoPro Radio Network. You can find us at GoProRadio.com, which is headquartered right here in New York City. This is our first episode of this show. I also host another show called Expressions in Blackness. And also, family, and Cleo, I got to handle some bills real quick. I'm going to put this in the information of this show. And for some reason, how you can send us money. If you want to send me $10, $5, definitely do that. So I'm going to put in the information right now, how you can send donations. And like I said, if it's $5, $3, we're just fine. But I'm putting all that in right now. So please bear with me. We're here with Dr. Cleo Manago, who has appeared on radio broadcasts and TV broadcasts for years. Dr. Manago, when I told people that I was having you, anytime I'm telling people that I'm ignoring you, the excitement, oh, wait, that's a deep brother. He's thorough. I listen to him all the time on Roland Martin. Now, Dr. Manago, I have to ask you, listen, I'm not trying to cause any trouble. Did you watch I remember you watched the full interview that Roland did of Vice President Harris?
I don't watch any of it, no.
Now, you asked the question, you said you weren't sure if it was pre-recorded or live, and while it was airing, Roland was also airing a live rally that Vice President Harris was having. Oh, Cleo, you sound muted.
I haven't said anything. I'm listening.
Oh, I'm sorry, dear brother. So anyway, that was a very excellent interview. That like I said, and then she was on Charlemagne, and there was a brother from New Era, Detroit, that I a virtual. They did it was a town hall meeting, I think, in North Carolina. It aired on Revolt. Charlemagne had the guy that interviewed her yesterday or 2 days ago. But one of my friends from New Era, Detroit, had pressed her on reparations, and of course, she was accused of dancing around that issue. She was saying other things. But so, Cleo, have you had a chance to read the agenda that the Harris campaign has introduced, the blackmail agenda?
No. And let me explain. I am, at the risk of sounding presumptuous, if you go back on the shows that I did with Roland in the 2016 and later, I predicted that Kamala Harris was going to wind up in the White House as the vice president or the president. So I don't have anything to learn about Kamala Harris. I know who she is, and I'm not interested in all these shows and stuff. I'm not so I have not watched any of them. So no, I haven't seen them. But I want to say something that I hope it's like I'm off topic. But I value Black women as equally as much as I value Black men. And my work is centered on Black women almost as much as it is on Black men and children. So I want to make that clear. My career is almost a half century long,
Yes, sir.
and it's never been solely focused on Black men. Because I'm a Black man, and because I can talk to Black male issues, the assumption is that I'm linearly focused, and that's all that concerned me. As a matter of fact, my first activism was for the rights of women and against violence toward women.
Stand by.
So
Stand by. Go ahead, Cleo. Finish. Stand by, caller.
So I want to make that clear. My work, the reason I'm talking about men now is because this society, as you referenced earlier, has decided over the past 10 years or so to uplift Black women. Black women rock, etc. Black girl power, etc. And I support that and I applaud that. But I do not applaud, in the wake of all the high body count of Black men in popular culture, televised, etc., and all of the challenges that Black men are dealing with, the perpetual ignoring of the Black male experience and struggle. So I have to do something retroactively to address that. And I already mentioned how Dr. Tommy Curry, who is a brilliant scholar who does focus on Black men a lot and has written a book called The Man Not, who is marginalized because of his expertise. So somebody got to say something for Black men, because Black men keep being ignored. But Black men are not my only priority. I want to make that clear.
Cleo,
sure.
But Cleo, if I may, when I interviewed Dr. Curry in 2017, he did mention how he was attacked. In other words, he was attacked by segments of the Black community. Well, actually, it was only segments of the Black community that their thing was, how dare you say anything defending Black men? These who were supposed to be so evil and sexist and misogynistic and homophobic. How dare you? He said he can't. They were calling him names.
Right.
Can enjoy profiting by trashing Black men. Well, we have a call right now. We have with us attorney Amos Jones, a Washington, D.C. attorney. He has something he'd like to say. Welcome, Amos.
Hi. Actually, I want to thank Dr. Manago and you as well, Mr. Farad, for this great interview tonight. Dr. Manago, thank you so much for your contribution. I wondered whether you could comment on whether there's any value in just symbolism, which is emotional. And I ask because when Barack Obama was running for president, I think for people of a particular generation, younger folks, some of us didn't really see that, like me, I voted for him twice. I wasn't hung up in having a Black president because they're by rich white people anyway. And of course, that's what you get. And so I underestimated the extent to which, when it was all over, that at the very least, and this is about the most positive thing I have to say about those 8 years, the idea of a black man, a man presumed to be black in a black family, at the very top, and presenting in at least a dignified way for really little kids gave a different impression of who might be powerful. Is there any symbolic benefit of having Kamala Harris? Not that people should vote for her just because of that, a woman. I grew up with a woman governor in Kentucky in the early 1980s, and as a little boy, I thought that being a governor of a state was woman's work, that women should be running the state. That just because we had a woman governor, I was 3 years old, and I thought every state had a woman governor. I just made that association erroneously, but I think that's one reason why I don't have any much sexism. There was a woman in charge of the state. That's all I knew. So, I mean, it's emotional, but that's about the most positive thing I can say about racially what the Obama phenomenon did for the country, all people. Do you have anything at all that's cosmetic that does have some value, like she's an HBCU person, when it comes to Kamala Harris, since she's basically, brought to you by rich white people?
Okay, I'm going to attempt to be not verbose and get to the point. First of all, life is not static. Life doesn't stop on a dime and allow Black people to have a long-term opportunity to revel in something that looks like it's good for Black folks. When Black people have the nerves to show up powerful, competent, and in charge, there's a backlash. And the backlash is always so powerful that the symbolism of this Black president, et cetera, eventually becomes irrelevant. It's temporary, it's forgotten, and something occurs that's more outrageous and intense than their presidency. Donald Trump. When Barack Obama shows up, because he has yet to prove himself as being committed to Black people, he's irrelevant. Black people do not run behind him and do what he says. He has no credibility. That's important to say because the credibility is important for Black people to take him seriously as somebody to ascend to be a role model, to be someone who has symbolized Black possibility. But in order for somebody to symbolize Black possibility, it has to go beyond tokenism. So there's not enough Black presidents for there to be a legacy that would get Black children to go, I can do that. He didn't have that impact. And one of the things that white supremacy mythologists has helped to make sure that occurred was the invention of the Donald Trump. And now we have Kamala Harris, who hasn't demonstratively showed any love or identification with Black people. Matter of fact, what she's famous for saying, regardless of whether it was a soundbite or not, or out of context or not, is that I'm not just going to be supporting Black people. No, I'm not going to do anything specifically for Black people. No, she shouldn't have said that if she didn't really believe that, because that soundbite is what she's remembered for, and she's not being seen as this Black hero. Women are seeing her as a woman hero because we've never had a female president before. So there's Black women who are excited and just galvanized that this token Black woman or token biracial woman, because that's significant, can become the president because they want to feel good about their possibilities as women in this country. But just like Barack Obama was a temporary moment that was not static and permanent, if indeed Kamala Harris becomes president, and I said many years ago that there's a great possibility that she could, and she still could, there's going to be this pop in circumstances about, oh my God, this is great, but Black people are going to consciously and unconsciously look at her in very keen ways and listen very closely, and she's not going to affirm us. And when her family walks out, she's going to have a few token Black people because she knows that we are going to be concerned about what I'm getting ready to say. So there will be some token Black people within her family that will come out on the stage with her to make us relax. But we're gonna look real closely, and we're gonna see who the first family is. And there's no black people involved except for her, who's biracial, and that's going to be optically powerful to our psyche. And she will not go down in history except for rhetorically as this great black person. She will not be seen that way by most black people in this country and outside this country. And getting back to your question, if indeed Kamala, I'm sorry, does become president, she will only get 4 years and it's going to be temporary. And right now, the only reason that she's even being taken seriously in this role is because Biden stepped to the side at this point. As you already know, she ran for president already and didn't do well. But now, because of the anti-Trump impulse, she could do well. And white people get to look politically correct. White people get to look like they care about somebody who's quote unquote black. They get to look real liberal. But everything is happening on their terms, including the selection of Kamala by Biden, because Biden could have chose other black women. But I also predicted on national streaming that it was going to be Kamala that he chose because she was unthreatening enough and white engulfed enough not to be a deterrent to white supremacist agendas and optics and still be president. So I hope that makes sense. She will not be, black women think that she's going to be, oh my God, a black woman, a biracial black woman's going to be president. That means we've lifted up. Just like the fact that we have an Oprah Winfrey has not created a free-for-all for a bunch of black women to get those positions in media. It hasn't happened. Even Tamron Hall was fired from NBC. She married a white man, which you might want to say is irrelevant enough, but now she got a gig on popular television, but on their terms. And there's not a long line of women in her position. She's a token. Oprah's a token. Kamala's a token. These are not symbols of black progress or transformation. These are individuals who are in these positions who get this kind of access, but it's not social change for the black collective, including the black self-concept and black self-esteem. Because there's going to be a reaction, a Trump-like reaction to Kamala as well. Because white people do not, a lot of white people in the white collective, I don't want to sound like I'm being too general, but enough white people, there's a critical mass of white people who cannot handle the idea of black people being portrayed equal to whites. And that's what Obama kind of did. And that's why we got the Trump backlash. And if indeed Kamala becomes the president of the United States, there will be a backlash against her as well.
Well,
And that
Dr. Manago,
back,
Dr. Cleo Manago, we thank you very much.
I'm sorry. No, so I'm just saying that
No,
backlash,
finish it. No.
that backlash, I just want to be clear, that backlash will interrupt the capacity, just like it did with Barack Obama, for Kamala and her being biracial and not fully black. Those two things interrupt her capacity to be this great black role model for black women and their self-concept. Because she's temporary. She's not the symbol of change. She's a symbol of high-level tokenism. And I'm against Trump. I want to make that clear. Because when you say something about Kamala that's not supportive, you're automatically thrown out in the I love Trump pile. I do not love Trump, and I'm not voting for Trump. But I do want to say the best thing black people can do is prepare to hold whoever is president accountable. But you got to love black people to do that. The white gay community loved each other, and they held Barack Obama accountable and reaped the benefits. The immigrant community concerned about particularly Latinos getting over the border, their family members and stuff were supporting Barack Obama, and they got legislation and policies that helped them be able to bring their people over. So they were holding him to the fire. We were glad that Stevie Wonder was singing at the White House, and that was a big deal. We did not hold this man accountable. We have to learn to care about black people enough to hold people in these positions, whether it's local or national government, accountable to us. But you got to love black people, and you got to value black people, like my shirt says, to be focused like that. And a lot of us are apprehensive about having that kind of focus on black life. I'm talking about black people now.
Mhm, mhm. Well, Dr. Cleo Manago, thank you very much for joining us. Never a dull moment whenever speaking with Cleo. I've had the honor of speaking with Cleo on air several times, and I'm going to tell you something. Cleo, he doesn't like being called doctor too much. Uh, I've had the honor in my career of speaking with many phenomenal people, and I put you in that top list of phenomenal people, phenomenal Black people in particular. So
Thank
we'd
you.
like to thank you very much for joining us. Please go to the GoPro Radio Network. This interview will be re-aired. Make sure you subscribe to us there. Thank you very much for calling in Ian out of New Jersey, attorney Amos Jones out of Washington, D.C., who, by the way, is also another journalist. Tylon Usavier Washington, who tuned in tonight. He is the founder of GoPro Radio Network, and of course, this is my first show, not with the network, but this is my first show this year. I created this show for the GoPro Radio Network. So we'll be back next Thursday, same black times, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you very much, family. And of course, don't forget to donate. And hold on, Cleo. Before we get off the air, I'm going to read to you what Tylon said. Is it normal for Black men to hate everything and everyone that is anti-Black? Okay. And then we have Fairy Hollow. She says here, so as a white woman who said she will only be a transition and whose grandson looks like you, how do we get to where he sees himself in the people who will lead his country? Fairy, I'm not sure what it is you're talking about. You might have typed that wrong. It looks like some typos. But anyway, thank you all very much for joining me. I'm Dashawn Farad. You can follow me, Dashawn Farad Media, Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter, Dashawn Farad. Facebook. We'll be back, like I said, next week, live as well. Oh, Cleo, Taiwan wanted to know, where can we get that T-shirt?
You can get it from the Amasi Center website. I believe there's a system there where you can order the shirt and get them. And we should all have on these shirts because this society doesn't value Black people as a system, but we can value ourselves and show it on our chest.
Oh, also Tim Hogan, Malcolm, Carl Tays. Let's see who else joined us tonight. Chris Jackson